Welcome to yet another Moralis video. My name is Philip, and in this video, we're going to be using the Moralis Streams API in order to watch for new liquidity pools being created in Uniswap v3. But specifically, this video is about watching any custom blockchain event that smart contracts emit, how you can watch them in real time and get notified precisely when they happen. And you can do that for any custom event across any smart contract, across any blockchain. And the end result of our little app today will look something like this, where in real time we're going to get these webhooks, as you can see it's happening right now, where new pools are created. And what you get here is the decoded event. So you get the token 0 of the pool, you get the token 1 of the pool, so those tokens will be trading against each other. You get the fee of the pool, the tick spacing, and the pool address. And then we're also using the Moralis APIs in order to get the metadata of the token. So in this case, we're getting the names, we're printing out the names of the tokens. In many cases, since we're watching any pool, it will be random shitcoins trading against other tokens. In this case, it's this GOS token trading against wrapped ether. You can see we have wrapped ether trading as baby Pepe. This is probably small tokens that are not worth anything. But if you have any kind of application where you need to watch custom events, this might be things like this new liquidity pools, but it can be any event. Maybe it's a trade that is happening on your DEX, or maybe it's some kind of minting event, or maybe it's some kind of other custom event that you have in your smart contract where your website, your app, or maybe other counterparties need to react to that. So for that, you can use this tutorial and together with Moralis Streams to set up these event listeners. And yeah, I'm gonna go through the entire process. If you enjoy this type of video, make sure to hit the like button before we get started and subscribe to the channel. So make sure to do that, and then we'll get started. And first of all, you'll need to sign into your Moralis account. And either from the Streams page here, you can click login or start for free, or from our homepage, you can click login or start for free, and you will get to the developer portal admin.moralis.io. And here's where we're going to set up our stream. So we'll configure the stream from here, meaning we will configure what type of events we want to listen to and where we want to send this webhook. And setting this up is quite simple. So you go into streams here on the left, click on overview, then create new stream. And then it will ask you what type of events do you want to track. We can also give this a name. So we'll call this we'll call it the factory tracking, Uniswap factory tracking, because that's what we're going to do. We're going to track when new, well, I guess maybe Uniswap factory tracking is not the best name, but Uniswap pool tracking, because we'll track whenever a new pool is created. So what type of events do we want to track? We want to track contract events in this case, and then we'll hit continue. And then here, what type of contract events do we want to track? We want to track custom events. And here we can select either all contract events, which would mean that we would need to add a contract address that we want to track, and then we'll get all of the events. We can select common events if it's things like token transfers or NFT approvals, NFT transfers that are common in token standards. Or if we want to track a custom event, which is outside of all of these, then we would need to first of all input the ABI of the smart contract so that we then can select which events we want to track. And in this case, I've already told you that we want to track Uniswap contract deployments, which means whenever a Uniswap factory contract deploys a new pool, we want to get a notification as soon as that happens. And the use case might be that you want to start trading coins very early, or you're building some kind of analytics maybe on Uniswap. But either way, we need to get to these contracts, and we'll start by finding the Ethereum factory contract. And to do that, you can go to this Uniswap, let me show you, here we go. So it's docs.uniswap.org/contracts/v3/reference/deployments. I will leave this link in the description, but you can also just Google for Uniswap contract deployment. And then you will find, if you click on Ethereum, you will find the Uniswap v3 factory, and we have the address here. So I'll copy that address, and then I'll go to Etherscan. Paste that in here, we'll go to this, and this is then the v3 factory contract. I will then go to contract, and from here you scroll all the way to the bottom, or almost all the way to the bottom, where you find contract ABI. You want to copy this, okay? And then we go back to streams and we paste all of this in here. And important that you take the whole thing, or if you want just certain events, you can also modify. But once you start modifying it, it's possible that you make a mistake with like the parentheses and the brackets, and then this won't work. So just paste that whole thing in from Etherscan. And here we have a few events then to choose from that this contract emits. Fee amount enabled, owner changed, and pool created. And pool created is what we are interested in. And this will emit which two tokens are trading in this new pool. And then I believe this is the fee. And then let's see, what is the other thing? We can check that here, I think. Or we can check it in Etherscan. So if you go back to Etherscan and we go to the contract, where we go to transactions, we take the latest successful transaction, which called the create pool function. We'll check the logs. And here we have the actual event signature. So we have token 0, token 1, then we have the fee, the tick spacing, which is, I guess, is how big of increments it's trading in, but I'm not 100% sure. And then the address of the new pool. Oops. And this will be useful then because you'll get all of this information inside of your webhook. You can also here add filters in case you want to filter it based on any of these parameters. You can say, like, okay, the token 0 address should be equal to a specific value. Maybe you only want to listen to pools that are created around wrapped ETH, then you can do that. But I'm not gonna use that here, so I will close filters. And then I will hit continue. And here we need to put in a tag, which could be like, we will put Uniswap stream. It's kind of like a name. It will be passed on with all of your streams. You can choose if you want to also include transaction and transaction logs. We will not do that. We'll just get the event that we configured for. And now we get to add addresses. And this is, here you can also do it in a bit of different ways. You can add in, let's say, the Ethereum address of the factory contract. So let's say we only want to watch this factory contract on ETH. But in theory, you could also select all addresses, which means that it will watch for this event, this create pool event, across any smart contract. And that can work, right? Because maybe you don't know about all of the factory contracts, because Uniswap is not the only company or entity that can create pools. Anyone can create a Uniswap pool, a Uniswap factory. At least in V2 where it's open source. But in general, anyone can create a factory. So maybe you don't know all of the addresses that can create pools. And then you can select all addresses. You will watch for this pool created event across all smart contracts, across all the chains that you select. Because that will be the next step to select the chains. But if you want to be sure that it's actually like an actual official Uniswap pool created by the Uniswap factory, then we should only add in the Uniswap addresses here. And that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to take from this Uniswap docs again, the Ethereum, I've already taken that one. I'm also going to take the Arbitrum factory, which I think is the same. I'm not sure if all of them are the same. Oh, shit. Is that the same? Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, because I can't add it. So that one is the same. So we don't need to add that again. Let's see. Optimism, is that the same? That is also the same. Polygon, is that the same? Yes. Base, is that the same? No. So, okay, so base is not the same. So I will add this on base. Add address. BNB, that's not the same. And that. Avalanche. I don't think that was the same either. We'll add that. Cello we don't have, and Blast we don't have at Moralis currently. Blast is coming soon though, so maybe when you're watching this we have Blast. So these four are added. Now, the next step is to add the chain, and here I'm going to select all of the chains. We had ETH, we had Polygon, we had BSC, we had Arbitrum, and we had Avalanche, and Optimism, right? And Base. mainnet. Okay, so I've only added the main, no, optimism mainnet, avalanche mainnet. Did I miss anything? Ethereum, optimism, polygon, base, BNB, avalanche. Yes. One thing that if you're following along now, you might have a question like, okay, so what happens if like one of these addresses, let's say I took the address on BNB, and let's say that that address on Ethereum is something different. Then we're going to be watching that address also on ETH. And in this case, that is true. However, the chances are so incredibly small that there would be a contract at the same address on ETH and that would emit the same event. However, if you want to be 100% sure this is a critical production application, then you would only create one stream per chain. You would have one stream for ETH and you would add in the ETH address. Then you would do one stream for Polygon, you would add the Polygon address. But in this case, the chances are minuscule that there will be any overlap here. So I will continue with all of the chains that we support for Uniswap in the same stream. And now we can test the streams. We can take a historical block on ETH, let's say, and we can see if our config actually matches what we want to track. So we could take this transaction that we looked at before that created a pool, and this was block number 307. I'll copy that and I will input that here, and then we'll test this stream to see what the response would have been if this block was a live one. And here we'll see that we did get a block, and we also have 2 logs in here. So these would correlate to 2 of these events that were emitted in this block. And so we can see this one right here, which is not decoded yet. We're going to do that. And we see it was triggered by this address. And this is, of course, on ETH. This webhook was selected ETH. You would get 1 webhook per chain. And you can see which contract that we watched that triggered this. And I guess it's the same here. Yes. And so this block, according to this, will have 2 of these events. So let's just check if that's correct. We had 307. So 307 was here and here. So we had 2 of these create pool events. That's correct. And now what we need to do is that we need to set up our server so that we can accept this webhook and then decode it and get all of the values from this log decoded. All right. So that's what we're going to do next. And in order to do that, you'll need to head over to your local editor, where we'll create a simple Node.js program that will accept the webhook and parse the log so that you can see how that works. And then you can integrate that into your own application. So head into your editor of choice. I'm using Visual Studio Code. And then we're going to create a new file. And or let's see, I can create it. Let me see. I'll create it here in my folder. I'll create index, or I'll call it main.js. I'll also open up the terminal here, and I'm going to run npm init. Just enter through these questions. There we go. And then we're going to have to install Moralis. So we're going to do npm install Moralis-s. And we're also going to install npm install express, which is a web server. And then finally, we're going to run npm install body parser, which will help us parse the JSON body. There we go. So now we can start at the top. We're going to import express from express. We're going to import body parser from body parser. And then we're going to import Moralis from Moralis. And then in our package.json, we're going to have to put type module, because we're using this ES6 notation with import statements. And then we're going to start our web server here with app equal express, and also configure which port we want to use, which we'll use port 3000. Then we'll get our Moralis API key. Here we'll have to insert that one later. And then we can start Moralis. So we'll do Moralis.start, or we should start. And that takes an object here, a config object with API key. And here we'll insert Moralis API key. Then we can listen for this webhook on a specific path. So we'll wait for a post request on the /webhook path, where you can name this whatever you want. It doesn't have to be called webhook. And then we'll have an async function that is called whenever that happens. We'll extract the webhook body just from request.body. Oh yeah, for this we also need to use the body parser, so that will be at the top here after app. We'll put app.use body parser.json. That will automatically parse, JSON with an N, that will automatically parse the body of our requests into JSON. And then what we're interested into also then is decoding the body, so that Moralis has an SDK method that will automatically take these kinds of events, use the ABI that we already inputted, and decode them into the actual properties into the right format. And to decode the logs, which we are interested into, decoded logs, we'll call moralis.streams.parsed logs. And here we will input the webhook data, so webhook body, like so. And after that, we should be able to console log, for example, decoded logs 0 dot value. Or we can also console log the whole thing, decoded logs, I guess, to string. I'll flip those around, so we'll do like so. We'll see what that looks like. And then we also need to return status 200 to Moralis streams, so that it knows that this was successfully delivered. So res.status 200.send. And let's see here. We also need to figure out the scenario where the body is empty. So rec.body, we will do if it will be empty. So how should we handle this? So if body dot, what would it be? It would be body dot logs dot length is greater than 0. Then we'll do all of this stuff. But regardless, we will send status 200. Now, I don't have any try catch here. You should have some error handling here if this doesn't work. The reason that we did this is because when you first activate the stream, the Moralis service will send an empty webhook just to confirm that your endpoint or your server actually responds with status 200 when it receives a webhook to this URL. And so for that reason, we need to send status 200 regardless. But we only want to do the actual logic here if there actually is any logs to process. And now we just need to get the API key, and then this should be working. However, before we do that, I'm going to do one thing. So in our streams here, and number one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this whole thing to clipboard and go in here and add like a test. So we're going to add test hook here, or test body. We'll paste that whole thing in here. Because what we then can do is we can use that as a test. So instead of request.body, we'll just use test body. And then we can see if our logic actually is correct without actually waiting for a stream. So that's why we do that. And then now we need to get the API key. Before we do that, I will also actually deploy this stream. So I hit continue here, and then we're going to deploy this to a webhook URL. And the reason that I'm doing that now and not waiting is because at the moment, there's no way to save a draft of this. So you have to save and deploy it. And because I don't want us to lose our work here, I'm going to advise you to deploy this. And to do that, I'm going to use this website called webhook.site. Let's see if you can see the URL. There you go, webhook.site. And this will give you a webhook URL that we can use to test. So you'll copy that, and we'll go back to Moralis. We'll put that in there. We'll hit continue. We'll verify the webhook, and then we are ready to deploy. My name here is also gone. Uniswap pool watcher. We'll click save and deploy. And then we can just edit that. Once we're ready to send it to our local machine, we'll edit that. But for now, all the webhooks will come into here. Once there is a real one. These are just the test ones. Once there actually is a new pool created, it will come in there. With that done, we can now go and get our API key. So API keys will take whatever default key you have here. I'll take this one, but you can also create new ones. We'll put the key here. And now I'm going to run this, and then we're going to try to post a request to this webhook endpoint, and then we should use this test body and see if our logic works. If that works, then we're basically ready to start redirecting requests from our stream into our local server. So let's run this with node main.js. I forgot to start the actual server. At the bottom here, we're going to run app.listen. And we're going to listen to the port that we selected. And once that is live, we're going to console log. Server started. Listening to port. And then we'll put the port. Try that again. There we go. Server started listening to port 3000. Now we can go ahead and send a post request to this /webhook endpoint, so localhost 3000 /webhook, and this should run. So we'll create a new terminal here. Let's see, can I put this side by side? Oh no. Let's see, let's remove that, and we'll create the side by side one here. There we go. Now we can see both. Oh, but actually, I want this to be a, let's see here, Ubuntu shell, because I don't know how to send post requests in PowerShell. So here I can use curl. If you don't know how to do this, you can also get Postman. So we can get Postman, and you can download and install that. You can actually send a request from Postman into this thing. Maybe I can actually do that. Oh, my session has expired. All right, now we're back. Let's actually do that instead for the first one here. So we're gonna send to, let's get a new one going. Post, localhost, port 3000, colon 3000, boom, it's gonna be post request. Headers, let's see, do we have any content? No, so I think the only thing, well, let's see if we actually need to put anything. Maybe need to put a header of some sort, but let's try that. And we'll open up this node, boom, we'll see if we get anything. Send. Error. Let's see, we might need to add content type. Application JSON. Let's see, send again. No. Why are we erroring? Oh, we need to post it to /webhook. There we go. There we go. Something went wrong though, but it did reach the server. Body is not defined. Where did I put body? This one. That needs to be webhook body. My bad. Okay. We'll try again. Oh, I need to restart this. There we go. We'll try again. Oop. Okay. Now, this did not work, but I mean, it did parse it. We just gotta, let's see, can I do to JSON? Okay. So this didn't work because I'm not sure what the actual object looks like. There we go. Okay, so the whole thing we got was this. So this is the decoded logs. And you can see we got token 0, we got token 1, we got the fee, we got the tick spacing, we got the pool, just like we saw in this Uniswap when we looked at the actual event. You saw that we had the logs and we got all of these different types of parameters. That's what we see also here in the terminal. So that's how you decode using the Moralis SDK, the actual event using the ABI, because in the actual body, if you remember, the body we copied here, the test body, all we had was, all right, now it's the whole ABI thing, here. All we had was this, right? Topic 0, topic 1, and this was not really formatted. Now, instead of that, we have this beautiful decoded body. And the full array is available inside decoded logs, and then this would be the first transfer, depending on how many there are. There can be anywhere from 1 to as many as there is in that particular block, because you will get 1 webhook per block. And so now, all that's required after you've been doing that is to connect the stream to your server. And if your server is deployed somewhere on AWS or Heroku or anywhere else, you can just give it the actual URL. Now that we're on localhost, it's a little bit more tricky. So first of all, we can already see in our webhook .site here that we've got many webhooks for this already. So here is one pool created, here's another one created, here's another one created. All of these webhooks represent new pools that are being created. And by the way, if you want to know the chain, it's at the top here of the webhook, the chain that this webhook is related to. All right. So how do we now connect this stream to our local host server? Well, as I said, if you have it deployed, you can just go into your stream and you can edit this and you can set the webhook URL to that URL, that server URL. If you're on localhost, we're going to be using ngrok, and that's a tool that will help you tunnel traffic safely from a remote server to your local server. And I'll link the quick start guide to how to get started and install ngrok in the description. But here is how you install it on macOS, on Linux, on Windows. I already have it installed and globally available. And all that we need to do now is to run this command with the right port, and that should fire up this little server. So let's see if I have it in PowerShell, ngrok. I do. Okay, so let's run that here, but with localhost 3000, because that's where our server is running. And if we do that, we're going to get an actual URL, and that would be this URL right here. We're going to do forwarding, if I make this a bit bigger. Forwarding from this URL to localhost 3000. So I will copy this URL, but this is a public URL. I'll copy that. When I say public, I mean it's available on the internet. And then we go into our, first of all, I also need to modify it. So this should be request.body. This thing right there, we get rid of this test body. So that works, okay. And then we restart the server. And then we're going to put this URL into our streams. Boop. We hit continue, and it's going to verify this webhook. It's sending that 200 thing. Okay, it didn't receive that. Oh, /webhook. We need to add /webhook. Continue. There we go. Hit save. And now we should be getting webhooks into here. We just need to sit and wait a bit until we actually get a block on any of these chains with new pools. If that happens, we will console log out the decoded logs. All right. So I'm going to sit here and wait until I get the next webhook, and then I will show you guys what it looks like. And I didn't have to wait for too long. Now you see we have 2 of these webhooks that I've come across. And one thing that would be useful in terms of also console logging here, if you wanted to check this, is which chain it's on. That is, of course, in the webhook body, but we don't log it here, so we wouldn't know for sure from this data. But it's all there in the webhook. And now it's up to you to do whatever you want with this information. You could, of course, trigger this to do whatever you want to, fetch more info about this particular token, right? Token 0, token 1, and you could create a list of newly created pools, and you could maybe build a website around that, like an explorer page, or you can trade it, right? You connect it to a trading bot if there's liquidity, or maybe this triggers you to actually add a watcher for that particular pool. Whenever there's liquidity in that pool added or withdrawn, you can create streams programmatically. You can add addresses to streams programmatically. If you're interested in that, you can go to our docs site. Let me see, API reference. You can go to Streams API. And here at API reference, you'll see that you can manage your stream, you can manage your project and the history throughout the API. So I would check that out if you're planning on utilizing streams more, but this was a quick demo on how to set up a stream to watch custom events and how to connect that to your local host, how to parse those events. So I've actually gone ahead and added one more thing, and I want to add one more thing before we wrap this up actually. And that is, I've written out the chain ID of the webhook, which we talked about. And then also what I want to do is I want to query, I'm going to move this actually down below here. And then also I'm going to query, and actually I will not do that. I'll add this one up here, and then in here I will query Moralis for the data about these tokens. So we'll use the Moralis token API to do this. And we can do that with, let's see, we'll use the get token metadata function. And this takes an object with chain where we can input the chain ID. So we'll input the, where do we have it? Webhook body.chain ID. And then addresses, which is an array where we can input both of the tokens. So it will be, oh yeah, so this can actually be an array of pools, right? So we're gonna have to, for each, yeah, so for each pool that was created in this, we're gonna have to run this, right? So it's gonna be a little bit more complex. Let's just start simple, okay? We'll start with just doing the first one. So decoded logs what was it? Token 0, and then decoded logs the token 1. So that will give us the 2 contract addresses of those tokens. And once we have the response, we can console log response to JSON, and then we should see, yeah, we can see what the response is. So let's then exit out of this, and we could, if we don't want to wait, we can use Postman once again, and we can get this whole test object into Postman as the body. Where did I put it? Here. There we go, and we can try it with this. I have an issue with my API key does not have permission to perform this action. You probably won't have that issue, but I had an API key that did not have permission to use the API. Let's see how quickly that updates, or maybe I need to switch out the key. There we go. So now you see that we get data about these tokens. So we had, my Siri woke up. We have PLETH and we have wrapped ether as the 2 tokens. So then what we can do is, let's go down, say const token info is equal to response.toJSON, and then console log token 1, we'll put token info 0.name. Okay, we'll do the same for token 2. but you all have all of the metadata here with logos and stuff. But for new tokens, like if someone creates a random shitcoin, like PLETH at 5,000, I have no idea what, you know, scam token that is. Or maybe it's not a scam token, I just haven't heard about it. But you probably won't be logos and stuff for those new tokens. But if it's a token that's been around for a while, that's popular, then there will be full metadata, like you saw with wrapped ETH. You will also have, you know, fully diluted supply and all of this stuff. Let's save that and let's update it. We also see that in the meantime, I think we got another response here. Yeah, we got test 4 token and test 7. So someone is running a bunch of tests. Here also a girl tells a story. You know, people deploy all kinds of stupid pools, right? So now it's up and running again. Now you can see token 1 based on what? Token 2 wrapped ether. So you can get all of this info. We can also put like token 1. We could put like the actual address. You could put anything you want, the logo, the name, the price. You can get so many things from the Moralis API, but this was, I think, a good demo of what you can do with the streams together with the Moralis API. So I'll wrap up there. Thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions, make sure to leave them in the description below. And also, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. It makes a big difference for us. And you can also join our Discord if you had questions about, you know, the code or Moralis in general. You need help. Our community is awesome, but also our staff, our support staff is amazing inside of our Discord. You'll find the link in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.